All right, take a gander here. Sports points galore around the NHL. You have Johnny Gaudreau becoming the latest player to hit the 100-point mark. I believe, what is he, the sixth player in franchise history to do that, and has the Flames like sitting atop the division. I'm not sure many people saw that coming before the season. And then you have Paul Bruno's Austin Matthews at 99 points. Couldn't quite get there, but we'll have another shot at doing it. Tomorrow? You're going to be hosting the Capitals there, Paul. RotoWire's Paul Bruno. RotoWire's AJ Scholz, like in the house. Guys, the scoring this season has been kind of like off the charts. Like, why all of a sudden are we seeing this shift in more offensive and skilled players, AJ?
Well, I don't think we actually are seeing a shift compared to the last 2 years. Let's remember, both of those seasons were shortened to one degree or another. If you look at the point per game pace, 8 players last year would have put up 100 points over an 82-game season, which makes the fact that McDavid did it in 56 games last year all the more ridiculous. And in 2018-19, you would have potentially had 9 guys capable of hitting that mark, again, if they had played full 82-game seasons. So really, this isn't anything new. It's just a fact of the game. We have guys putting up big numbers. It was a couple of years ago, they made the goalies wear the slightly tighter pants, the small, they're making the goalies work for it these days. And they're just, I haven't pulled up the numbers on this, but I don't think we've seen quite as many shutouts over the last few years either. So yeah, it's not a recent trend, that's for sure.
Well, Paul, I'm looking at Hockey Reference. We're looking at an average of 3.12 goals are being scored by each team per game this season. That's the highest mark in the Cap era. We haven't seen this many goals scored since 95-96. The average then was 3.14.
You know what? We're seeing that particularly on the power plays. You're seeing a team close to my heart has a success rate over 30%. We have not seen that before. Many teams are upwards of 25 even. We haven't seen that with any great regularity. And it's all about the level of aggression, both from the attacking team and the forechecking team. Aggression leads to mistakes. Aggression leads to opportunity. It's one of those two paths is going to lead to more scoring chances either way. And that's what's happening. We're seeing more scoring chances in those special teams opportunities, but also in the regular course of play. Even with the net empty situation, we're seeing a higher percentage of goal scoring because, again, the teams are really making smarter use of putting pressure on the goal rather than being passive in their attack and conversely passive on the defensive side of the puck. Again, I'll use the Leafs as an example. They've got 13 shorthanded goals. That's amazing so far this season. And it's because they're really putting pressure on the opposing power plays. So it's that level of aggression and the corresponding increase in mistakes that's leading to the higher scoring in my estimation.
Yeah, and AJ, I think the Panthers last night won their 8th straight game. They're at the forefront of this new trend, too. They're averaging nearly 4.2 goals per game. That's the highest mark since your Penguins back in 95, 96. No other team in that span, AJ, has averaged over 4 per game.
Yeah, there's just, I think there's, in addition to the goalie changes, the rule changes have made it easier to, get power plays, and teams are taking advantage of it, as Paul said. But, there's more stick infractions being called, stuff like that. So you have more opportunities on the power play. And I would not expect this trend to change anytime soon. Goalies have, in some cases, adapted, and in others, they haven't. And we're seeing guys that aren't holding up in the same ways that they necessarily used to.
All right, well, let's go ahead and let's focus a little bit on tonight. Looks like we got 4 games on the slate here, dudes. AJ, we'll start with you. Hook me up with your favorite DFS play at center, please.
I was really tempted to recommend Nathan MacKinnon here. It's a good matchup with Colorado playing at home, and he's just been phenomenal. But when you consider that Mika Zibanejad is $1,900 cheaper, I think you have to go that route instead. He's 1 point away from setting a new career high. You combine that with the fact that the Flyers got absolutely rocked last night by Washington, and there's no sign they're going to be able to stem the tide. I think this has all the makings of a blowout, and Mika's, like I said, Zibanejad's discount rate compared to McKinnon just makes him the much better play, in my opinion. There's other guys you could use further down the lineup, but the matchup is too good, and you're not having to pay all the way to the top.
Okay, Paul, what do you want to do here? How much money do you want to spend? You brave enough to go after McKinnon?
Yes, I am. Though I would agree with AJ that Zibanejad is the outstanding choice on the slate tonight. I agree with that, but a close second is McKinnon. Look, he's got 5 goals, 14 points, 38 shots on goal in his last 10 games. He's rocking it against everybody. But LA's missing their top defenseman, Drew Doughty, for the rest of the season. And that's a vulnerable defense, if you ask me, without their linchpin. So I think McKinnon is a must consider at least. And then if you want a cheaper option, I think you can fade both those guys and get Nick Suzuki, a solid play given his near point per game pace over the past month, and a Columbus team that's given up 4+ in 5 of their last 7 games.
Okay, sweet. Let's go to wing. Paul, who do you like here? How much money are you going to spend?
Same look, the three same teams that we touched on. Mikko Rantanen, $7,400 for a guy who's got 13 points, 36 shots on goal in his last 10 against that vulnerable LA team. I think that's my favorite pick. But a close second, Artemi Panarin has been on fire, and nobody's given this guy his props. I don't understand why he's only priced at $6,600. He's a top 10 scorer in this league, and he gets that Philly matchup, so that's a bargain. And then Cole Caulfield, only $5,000 versus Columbus, despite his extended hot streak. That doesn't make sense either because he's bringing a high shot volume against a vulnerable defense as well, and you get him for only $5,000. I say go for it.
Okay, who do you like? Who do you like on the wing?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Rangers here and go with Chris Kreider. It's an expensive line stack, but he's the 3rd player this season to hit that 50-goal mark. And we've been hammering on it, both Paul and I. You can't undersell here the quality matchup they have tonight going up against the Flyers. In April, Philly has allowed 4.67 goals per game. That's 2nd most in the league behind Montreal over that stretch. I think you make this stack slightly more affordable for yourself by adding Frank Vetrano at $3,800.
Yes.
I think he's woefully underpriced considering he's racked up 10 points in 14 games since joining the Rangers at the deadline.
Yeah, including a 3-game point streak here. He's on that top line alongside Zibanejad and Kreider. What about back on the blue line, AJ? What do you want to do?
Well, let's just make it the trifecta here, and I'll go with Adam Fox for the Rangers tonight. $6,600 is a savings compared to Makar and Werenski. He's got 67 points in 71 games this year. That's just under a point per game pace. And I think maybe the fact that he has just 1 point in his last 6 might scare some people off here. But I should point out, over that same kind of scoring slump, he's got 13 shots, 10 blocks. So a decent amount of production coming out of that as well. A little over 7 DraftKings points per game over that stretch. I think there's a great opportunity for him to get back on the score sheet.
Paul, who's your main man here on the blue line crew? Cale Makar, top price dude, $7,700.
Now, you know what? I'm going to be boring, and we're singing from the same hymnal today, AJ and I, and that's boring. I'm sorry for that, but we're going to be right. Adam Fox is the guy. He comes in at $6,600. That's the best value among the plus 5,000 gang. I know he's only got 3 points in his last 10 games played, but this is a tremendous breakout opportunity. If you're looking sub 5,000, I would mention Vlad Gavrikov for Columbus. He gets the matchup against Montreal, who are down to their 3rd and 4th string goalies the rest of the way, unless Carey Price makes a season debut anytime soon. I don't expect much from him either down the stretch, guys. But for not $4,900, Gavrikov's value comes not only from his point scoring, but the guy's got 21 shot blocks for an average total of over 11 DK points per game in his last 10 starts. That's hard to overlook.